Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are going to take a look at two different Sergeant Slaughter action figures. Okay, so the one on the left, even though it's in a G.I. Joe Classified Series box, this is not an official G.I. Joe product. This is actually a Mattel WWE basic Sergeant Slaughter action figure. I bought this about 2 years ago when the G.I. Joe Classified Series line first came out. And I kind of wanted a Sergeant Slaughter figure for my collection. And at the time, Hasbro still didn't announce or release a Sergeant Slaughter figure for G.I. Joe. So I knew that Mattel had a couple of WWE Sergeant Slaughter figures. So I hunted down the cheapest one I could find, which was this basic figure here, and this made a custom box for it. So this is a Mattel WWE Sergeant Slaughter action figure, and the box is custom. I found an old Sergeant Slaughter graphic online, and I used that to decorate the box. So this image and the image on the spine. So it kind of looks like, from a distance, it looks like a legit product, even though it isn't. And I named this one Heel Turn Sergeant Slaughter. Because this figure represents Sergeant Slaughter when he turned heel and when he teamed up with the Iron Sheik. And if you look carefully, he actually has the Iron Sheik boots, which I'm not sure is accurate to the actual toy. So the figure on our right, this is the Mattel Elite Series 89 Sergeant Slaughter. So this is when Sergeant Slaughter teamed up with the Iron Sheik. So these two figures actually represent the same character. But I don't think he was called Sergeant Slaughter. I think when he joined the Iron Sheik, I want to say he called himself maybe... what was it? Maybe Colonel Mustafa? I might be wrong on that. But I remember that when he joined with the Iron Sheik, he changed his name around. So today we're going to take a look at both these action figures and compare them. Like I said, both of the figures kind of represent the same era of Sergeant Slaughter. The only thing different is that this is a basic figure with much more limited articulation, and this one is the Elite class figure, which is a much more premium product. So let's get started. We'll start with the basic figure first. And as I've mentioned at the start of the video, this is not an official Hasbro product. I just took a G.I. Joe Classified Series box and customized it and threw in a Mattel Sergeant Slaughter figure inside of it. And how do we open this? Alright, so here's the Mattel Sergeant Slaughter. I believe the box I used for this was the I want to say it was the G.I. Joe Classified Series Cobra Island Roadblock figure. And it still comes with Roadblock's sunglasses. And I found that convenient because this Mattel version of Sergeant Slaughter, since it's a basic figure, it didn't come with any accessories. So he didn't have his drill sergeant hat, and he didn't have his glasses. But at least I have the Roadblock glasses here, so if I wanted to, I could give him that. The belt here is actually, it's not a Mattel belt. This is a Ftc belt that I bought on Amazon. It's part of like some sort of like belt set. Like on Amazon, FTC, or if you're unfamiliar with FTC, it's the figures toy company. They produce a lot of like wrestling action figures for like a lot of the wrestlers on the indies. And they released this belt accessory pack. And I believe this is the Steel Cage Championship belt. So I thought it'd be a fun Easter egg to include this as an accessory with Sergeant Slaughter, since Slaughter is a a professional wrestler. The bazooka here, I believe, is a Marvel Legends accessory. So we'll put this belt on Sarge later. So this is a basic or core Mattel Sergeant Slaughter figure. And when I say basic, these figures are very limited in their articulation. Only their head rotates. The arms rotate, and I believe they go outward. There is no bicep cut, but there is an elbow swivel with an elbow bend. The wrists are articulated. It does have a waist cut, so it can swivel at the waist. Now, the limited articulation is really focused around the legs. Like, the legs can only kick up. They can't kick out. I believe it's only a single bend at the knee. And it does have a boot cut. And it has articulated ankles. So, as you can see here, this Sergeant Slaughter has the iron cheek boots with the curled points at the end. Now, I was kind of contemplating just cutting that off, but I didn't want to modify the figure in case I want to put this figure back in my WWE collection. So let's examine the figure up close. The likeness of the figure, it's Sergeant Slaughter. He kind of has that sunken in face with a really, really big chin. He kind of has that grimace that Sarge is known for. Unfortunately, Sarge is balding, much like in real life. He has a camo pattern on his shirt, and his overshirt is just like a blank. It's a black tank top with a blank design. There's nothing on here. He has khakis here, or they're almost kind of like a desert-themed fatigues. He has, like I pointed out, the iron cheek boots. Now, I did some research on this era of Sergeant Slaughter, and I couldn't find any images of Sarge actually wearing these boots. I might be wrong on that, though. But I do like the shade of green here. It's a nice color. And if you're curious about how this scales next to a G.I. Joe Classified Series figure, let me grab a couple. So first up, we have G.I. Joe Classified Series Duke. And Duke stands in at about a little under 6.5 inches. Sergeant Slaughter. So this is the Mattel Basic or Core design figure. This one stands in at about a little under, no, pretty much almost 6 3/4. So if you were to stand them together, here's the height difference. So as you can see, this is a pretty decent, figure to blend into your G.I. Joe Classified Series figure, line. I know that Hasbro announced that they're working on a Classified Series figure that's going to be released, I think either later this year or maybe sometime early next year. So, I mean, if you're impatient, you could just, settle for a Mattel figure. The aesthetic, it's not too far off from the G.I. Joe Classified Series line. The level of detail is very comparable. And, the quality of the plastic and the shade of the paint, it's not, drastically different. So it doesn't feel like this figure is completely alien. From a distance, it looked like it'd blend in. Now, since this is a larger figure, on the larger end of the G.I. Joe Classified Series figures, we have the larger body, which we've seen on, like, Gung Ho and Roadblock. And here's the Gung Ho body, and if you stand them next to each other, it's kind of a good height comparison. I've always felt that the Gung Ho head is a little too large, but in terms of the height and the mass, they're kind of comparable. But yeah, I always kind of felt the Gung Ho figure, the head just seems really big. And just for fun, let's put on the Ftc Belt. So he's the Steel Cage champion. So the belt designs it's very similar to the old Jakks wrestling belts that they made for the WWF, WWE figures. They're a little bit bulky. They're not as quality as the modern day Mattel belt championship belts, but they're all right. So if you want to say Sarge is like, maybe they have pit fighting or brawls in the pit, and if you want to say Sarge is the champion, you can always just accessorize them with a wrestling belt, much like this. Alright, so that's my pseudo-custom Sergeant Slaughter figure that I use as a placeholder in my Classified Series line. You know, like I said, this is only a placeholder, so until the official one comes out, this guy's going to have to do. And it's a good substitute. You know, it's a good proxy. He does what he's supposed to do. It looks exactly like Sergeant Slaughter. Ideally, I would have liked to get, you know, the much earlier version of the figure where I think he might have had brown or black pants and the normal boots. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers, and I'll just have to settle for this guy. Alright, so moving forward, let's take a look at this. The Elite Series 89 Sergeant Slaughter. This is a much more premium action figure, a higher price point. On the back, we have the biographical information on Sarge, or at least his stats, where he's from, his height, his weight, his finisher. And this is when he turned heel. Sergeant Slaughter and his Triangle of Terror wanted to destroy the immortal Puke Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Puke Ultimate Warrior at SummerSlam 91. And here's some of the other figures in this wave. There's Drew, Dominic, Bobby Lashley, Damian Priest, Sarge, and Nia Jax. Let's take this out. I'm trying to figure out how... I don't remember how to open up these Elite boxes without destroying them. So just give me a minute. Alright, so first impressions of the Elite Series Sergeant Slaughter while he's still in the tray. It looks good. As you'll notice here, he has a couple of accessories. He has his elbow pads. He has an extra pair of hands, a pointed finger, and I believe this is a C-grip hand. He comes with, like, it almost looks like a riding crop or, like, I don't know, officer's staff. He does come with a removable shirt, and this is made of cloth. It's not a hard goods plastic jacket. It's actually cloth. So if you're not too keen on the cloth stuff, you might just want to remove this altogether. He has sunglasses and a beret. And let's get this guy out. Alright, so I'm going to leave this kind of like riding crop or whatever this is, this staff kind of deal in the package. I don't really feel the need to review this, but we are going to take a look at the elbow pads. If you've handled Mattel figures before, these are very, very familiar. They're a soft, pliable plastic. And let's take a look at Sarge himself. Here's his beret. It's black. Again, a softer plastic. And let's see if it'll fit on the basic figure. Now here's the basic figure. And it feels like this hat is a little too big for his head. Doesn't fit on... I mean, it fits, but it's very loose fitting. It's not very snug. It kind of just rolls off. As for his glasses, they look all right. They almost look more like goggles on them. And so in this case, I might just take the glasses off. I don't know. They don't look, I don't know, right to me. The figure itself, let's compare the heads. So this one has a much deeper snarl, and he has like a tuft of hair in the front of his forehead, which might be more accurate than this one. But to be honest, like this head a lot more. It looks cleaner. The presentation this looks better on the basic head in my opinion. But as you can see, you know, they're completely different sculpts. You know, the differences in the hair. Yeah, this one here, his hair, he's balding a little bit more than this guy. As you'll also notice, they have different shades of paint used for the hair. This one's kind of like more of a brighter orange brown. This one kind of leans a little bit on the grayer side, or grayish brown. I'm not too keen on this cloth jacket. It kind of has like those officer, I don't know what this is, like it's kind of like officer, like a rope or twine around the right arm. I don't like the Velcro. It's very large and it just looks horrible if you don't put it on right. But let's remove this and let's take a look at the figure without it. Now the one thing I hate about taking off these cloth goods jackets is that I'm always scared that I'm never going to get these on properly, you know, once I remove it. Because they're kind of a tight fit to begin with, and they always kind of feel like that once you remove them, you're never going to get them back on. But I feel that the figure would look better without it. And this sleeve does not want to come out. It might be easier to remove the hand first. Yeah. And then pull this out. So just keep that in mind. It might be easier for you just to, you know, remove the hands first, you know, before or after you put the jacket on. Let me set that aside. Have a look at that. Okay, so the one thing I noticed right off the bat when I took this guy out, or at least when I took the jacket off, is that you get a much more premium sculpt on his torso. As you can see with this one here, the detailing's nice. It's very minimum. But on here, you get deeper cuts, deeper folds on his tank top. You'll notice the camo pattern's actually different as well. This one uses a much brighter green and almost like a blue-green for the camo pattern. This one kind of uses a little bit more duller and muted colors. You're looking at like almost like a light green, a gray green, and a black. The pattern's definitely a lot more complicated than this one. So what makes this one a little bit more premium is that it has a lot more articulation. So the head on this one just goes left and right and doesn't really move up and down all that much, versus this one here, where this Sergeant Slaughter, it seems like the range of motion for the heads is increased by a lot. He doesn't really look down as much, but he can look up a little higher, and he can even look out towards the side at angles. Let's take a look let's compare them side by side. As you can see, the basic one on the right has a larger head. Profile view, much larger head. I kind of like the torso on this one a little bit better. He looks a little bit bulkier, a little bit larger, and that's how I kind of always envisioned Sarge. Sarge isn't necessarily like a ripped guy. The flesh tones, this one has a little bit more life to it. It's a little bit more red, whereas this one looks a little bit more duller. As you can see, there's a difference in the color of their pants. This one looks, on the right, looks a little bit more richer than this one. And as you can see, as you look at the lower torso, you'll notice the different cuts where the legs are. Hence, the additional articulation of the elite figure. You know, it could kick up, and then it could also kick out. And it has a thigh cut, so it could twist. And it has 2 points of articulation on the knee, unlike this guy, which only has 1. But I do like the look of this. I think if you're not too big on like posing your wrestling action figures, and if you're just going to have them standing around, I've always kind of preferred this look more because it looks a little bit cleaner. The more articulation you add, the gappier, you know, the figure starts to look, and you start to notice all the different cuts. One thing that this guy has also is that he has pouches on his leg and pockets, whereas this one only has the pockets on the back. You'll notice the difference in the boot designs. This guy has the green boots, but also with the curled points at the top. This one just has, you know, stock boots. But then again, the articulation's increased on this one also. You know, it not only does it go rock forward and back, but it also twist side to side, so you can get it more level depending on how far you spread apart the legs. Yeah, so overall, fun action figures. Now, if you're a G.I. Joe Classified Series collector and you're really impatient and need a Sergeant Slaughter action figure, you know, for whatever reason, some of these figures are kind of hard to come across, and if you do find them, you know, be prepared to pay a little bit more, especially for some of the older figures, especially the ones that have, like, you know, Sarge's other accessories like his hat and his sunglasses. When this figure first came out, it was a basic figure, and I believe it was priced at like $9.99. I bought this figure a couple years later, and I want to say I paid maybe like upwards towards $30 for it. And for me, at the time, this was the cheapest Sergeant Slaughter figure I could find on the secondary market. It's not perfect, especially because he has the weird boots, but for me, it's a good placeholder until I get the official Hasbro one. This figure is kind of recent, so chances are you might be able to find it at your local, like, Walmart or Target. You know, it's kind of misleading because when you see it in the store and he's wearing this, you know, jacket, you kind of forget that you can remove it. And once you remove it, this is what's underneath. And again, this figure looks like he would blend in well with the Classified Series G.I. Joe figures, much like the basic one. So let's do a little height comparison. So yeah, different Sergeant Slaughter figures. And I think either one of these, you know, would work well with G.I. Joe. So if you're impatient and you're just, you know, really jonesing for a Sarge, this is a good option. But there's also a third option. Let me grab that real quick. Now, this might be the option a lot of you might be looking at right now until we get the Hasbro one. This is an official Sergeant Slaughter action figure. This is the Action Force Sergeant Slaughter, produced by Valaverse. Valaverse, I believe, is owned by Bobby Valla, a former employee at Hasbro. And his line actually has a legit Sergeant Slaughter figure. Right here, and this design is very, very much in line with the G.I. Joe Classified series, but the price point for this is a lot higher. I bought this on Amazon for $49.99, so you're looking at $50, which is over twice the price of admission for like a standard G.I. Joe Classified series figure. But it looks great. I'm going to do a review on this in the near future, so keep an eye out for it. But this just gives you an idea that there's more Sergeant Slaughter figures out there. You know, if the Mattel ones don't do it for you, this guy will. And I do believe they're coming out with a re-release of this figure. I think they're gonna. It's like I believe it's gonna be slightly redesigned, and it includes the file card, much like the old G.I. Joes, and some of the other figures in the wave. So be on the lookout. I'm gonna review this guy in the near future, and I'm excited to check him out. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Sergeant Slaughter is a very popular character. You know, if you grew up in the 80s, whether if you're a fan of G.I. Joe or pro wrestling, you know who Sergeant Slaughter is. And it's just cool. You know, he's been celebrated so many times with so many different action figures. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your continued support. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.